Hi, I'm the Domestic Feminist. I'm a working married mother of three, and I like to talk about the everyday challenges women face on the home front from a feminist perspective. One thing I think could help women in industrialized nations everywhere is minimalism. And by minimalism, I'm not talking about the architectural movement, but instead the lifestyle choice many people are making as a response to the overconsumption in our culture. And the reason why I think it would help women in particular is because of our cultural role as the ones who manage the inventory of our households. In 2013, a team of University of California anthropologists studied 32 dual-income middle-class families and their homes. They were interested in the families' material lives and how they interacted and managed the material culture in their homes. The archaeologists on the team counted the number of objects in every space in every room. One participant cringed when she realized researchers were opening up her cabinets and taking pictures. It was that exhaustive. Imagine counting every object of your house, not just books and toys, which in families are numerous, but also rubber bands, bread bag closure tags, junk mail, frozen dinners, miscellaneous papers, kitchen gadgets, jewelry, charging cables, tools, screws, paper clips, hair products, etc. If you counted all that up, what would that number be? Who is in charge of managing all that stuff? Not a librarian managing her collection of the Dewey Decimal System or an inventory manager at a distribution center for Walmart. It is usually mom. Think about that. Managing the overwhelming, disparate ephemera of our lives is a job done by a person who is never asked, who of course is not paid for this job and is forced to fit in between other jobs, say a career or raising children, whose say in the job is often argued with or ignored, and who is not given a system, framework, or blueprint to do this job. No wonder American families' homes look the way they do. And to add insult to injury, when our homes look bad, we look bad. Not the children, not the husbands, we do. Somehow it is our fault that our children want to keep everything they've ever owned. Somehow it is our fault that we have not figured out an organizational system to keep it contained. Somehow it is our fault we cannot keep our house clean when it is covered in stuff we do not really need.
One of the things that we discovered and documented is that contemporary U.S. households have more possessions per household than any society in global history. And hyperconsumerism is evident in many spaces like garages, corners of home offices, and even sometimes in the corners of living rooms and bedrooms and the kitchen and the top of the dining room table.
Shower stalls.
There's the shower stalls. We find lots of stuff.
Piles
of stuff.
Mountains.
And it's clearly in some of these households creating some significant stress for the families, particularly the mothers.
Here are just some of the things that come into a house on a regular basis. Clothing. Cheap clothing means we have a lot of it. It has to be washed, dried, folded, and put away. Mail, bills, greeting cards, paperwork, junk mail, it all has to be sorted and acted upon. Kids' schoolwork. What is current and what should be kept to be reviewed for future tests? Kids' artwork. What is worth keeping? All of it? None of it? Food. Food has to be put away and its supply level and freshness monitored. Toys and trinkets. This stuff is trash, right? Not to my kid. We can donate this toy, right? I have not seen my child use it in months. Miscellaneous purchases. You get a cool thing like a drone, does not take up much space, you think. But where is it going to live in your house? Who's going to make sure that is where it is stored when it is not in use? Mom manages it all, and even if she refuses to do that, it manages her.
The finding was that women who looked around their homes and saw clutter and remarked on the clutter and remarked on the effect of the clutter on their lives, mainly that it was it was like an ever-present, continuing, ongoing burden for them to manage, that those women, when we looked at the cortisol levels of the women, Their cortisol was very high.
So how can minimalism help? For a long time, I was dubious about it. I thought minimalism was just another unrealistic standard for women to pursue and be measured against, or a shrinking of the environmental responsibility we should take for the stuff we have. But I now see it differently. I see it as a reasonable response to what is the national, if not global, problem of overconsumption that we're putting at the feet of women everywhere, especially mothers. Minimalism can help bring equity back. Every item in our homes has to be managed in some way. By reducing the number of possessions in your home, you're reducing what you have to pick up, store, clean, fix, maintain, remember, organize, whatever. Stuff is affecting our health and well-being. I used to joke that I wish I could get my house completely picked up and cleaned, and then me and my family would leave. We'd go away for a week or two and the house would stay nice. The sad joke being that the only way our house would stay nice is if we were not in it to enjoy its cleanliness. I realize now that the reason why it felt that way was because we had so many possessions that even if we had a place for everything and everything in its place, any one of us could take something out, which would then give permission for everyone else to as well, and not put it back. And then because I was not there to remind them to put it away, and honestly, I don't want to be that person, it would stay out and then they would take something else out too. And well-meaning people would say, you just gotta teach them to put it away. Sure, absolutely. But what happens when you just got back from picking your kids up from school or daycare and you've had a long day at work and you need to get dinner prepared and a load of wash started, right? When are you supposed to teach your kids to pick up after themselves when you're already so harried? And maybe the kitchen was not fully picked up from breakfast or dinner from the night before, and the kids are peacefully in bed when you realize their toys are still not picked up. And you also have not finished picking it from dinner, but the two of you also want to spend some quality time together relaxing. So you have a tough choice to make. Do you have a half-hour sorely needed couple downtime? Or do you use that time to catch up on the house? What's the problem? It sounds like bad habits, weak discipline, or poor scheduling, but the culprit is actually too much inventory to manage. In an ideal world, after my day of work and their day of school or daycare, we would come home to a clean and orderly house. They would do their homework before playing, and I'd do a load of laundry. I'd start dinner, and when my husband came home, he would finish making it. My kids would clear the table, and I would clean up from meal prep. My husband would spend time with the children before packing lunches for the next day, and together we would read to our children at bedtime. So why can't this happen? When you have too much inventory, you have too much to manage, and it slows everything down. For instance, my kitchen. I spend entirely too much time in it. I'm often cleaning up for meals and putting away anything left on the counters. By the time I get to washing the counters, I have already used up most of the time I have for that task. If I push on until it's done, I'll be taking away from something else I have to do. So what happens is it gets partially done, and my husband and I make do with a partially clean kitchen, which slows us down. This not only happens in the kitchen, but is a theme throughout the house. So what can you do? First, I would look at the relentless chores, the chores that take up the most amount of time on a continuous basis, say laundry or kitchen cleanup. Time yourself doing these things and take notes on the pain points. Work to reduce the inventory of items corresponding with this chore. I started with laundry, which meant the first step was reducing the inventory of clothing in our house, making sure that all our clothing fit inside our dressers. That alone brought so much more peace and sanity in our house. And then I looked at the pain points, which was the pressure of having to fold it all at the same time and then put it away. I just could not consistently achieve that. There were just too many interruptions or impediments. So I created a system around that, and now laundry is painless. You can watch my laundry video for more information on how I achieved that. Right now, I'm working on reducing the clutter in my kitchen. Things we typically leave on the counter, such as our Vitamix or Instant Pot, I'm finding homes for by reevaluating what is in my cabinets. This will substantially reduce the time it takes for me to wipe down our counters, which does not sound significant, but again, time yourself and identify pain points. When I did that in our kitchen, I found that I rarely got to wipe down our entire countertop. And when I looked at why, I saw that two big impediments were that I had to move or clean around countertop appliances and that people kept leaving miscellaneous items on the counter. However, the more I can keep my counters entirely clear, the more I'm able to force the rule of not leaving random items on the counter, which means that when it is time to wipe them down, I can do it quickly. So take a look at something that takes you a lot of time to accomplish and see if you can minimize the items within and surrounding that task. In time, you'll find you can complete the chore much faster. One final thought. What if something happened to you? Would your house fall apart? Would all your systems grind to a halt? Dawn from the Minimal Mom vlogged about disaster-proofing her house. Not preparing for a hurricane or anything like that, but instead optimizing her house to such a degree that if some emergency happened, her family could navigate the situation without the stress of a house falling apart. So she was hospitalized, heaven forbid. Her family could visit her in the hospital, attend to her husband meeting with doctors and insurance, and all the while he and the kids would be doing their part to keep their household running smoothly. And they could, because they, over the course of 7 years, had minimized their possessions and optimized their home environment so that it is easy to manage. That's my goal, disaster-proofing my house so that being in it does not feel like I'm constantly managing a disaster or trying to prevent one. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please give this a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Below in the show notes are links to Minimalism Experts to help get you started. Have a great day.